All right, folks. So this segment is called our Coffee and SIGs. Hopefully you have some coffee. If you don't have coffee, that's okay. But SIGs is our special interest groups for koha-US. And we wanted to take a little bit of time talking about our special interest groups, introduce our leaders, and talk about the ones that aren't here. And just briefly introduce you to what the groups are about and what they're up to. So I want to start off by having, we have a microphone here we're gonna pass down, and Bob, since you're in front of the microphone, we're gonna start with you and go down the group, but I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do personally or at work. Describe the group that you're in, what group you're part of, and when you usually meet.
So my name is Bob Bennhoff. I am in Colorado. I manage something called AspenCat, which is a consortia. So fittingly, I lead the consortia special interest group that meets every other month on Thursday mornings, kind of depending on which time zone you're in. With Koha, there's a lot of different settings you can do, and the more branches you have, the more complex things can get. So we just try to gather together and talk through our different setups. We often have people kind of drop in that are either looking at moving to a Koha consortia or are kind of new to that type of thing. And we end up just talking a lot about like how we approach different things. And then as always, look at like a lot of different bugs and discuss those.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Kuiper. I work at the Round Rock Public Library in Round Rock, Texas, which is just north of Austin, if you know anything about Texas geography. And I am I always have to think about this, the manager of technical services and collection development, which is just a really long title for I manage the stuff at the back of house at the library. So anything that anybody else doesn't do, I get appended to my title. So that's how that works. And yeah, I attended the Koha Con in Portland a few years ago, 4 years ago, I forget. And they had a thing there where they did round tables, and they asked me to facilitate one of the round tables, and that turned into the first SIG for koha-US. And so that's kind of how we got started. Was there was a group of us at Portland, and we sat around and we said, you know, we need to talk to each other more. You know, we need to not just, you know, once a year or whatever, let's meet more frequently. So we set up, with the help of Margaret from Bywater, we set up time and forum group, I guess a Google group and things like that, got it started. So we meet once a month.
That's the group.
Oh, yeah, I'm keeping you all in suspense. Acquisitions, it's very exciting. So we are the acquisition SIG, and I always say as acquisitions goes, so goes the rest of the library, because you can't really do anything without the acquisitions part of it. So we meet monthly, Tuesdays, second Tuesday, I think, of the month, and we get together. We'll usually have maybe a topic that we're going to discuss. I encourage people to bring what they're dealing with to the groups, and we have, you know, collectively come up with some specifications for new developments for the bugs. We've talked about how to track changes in your budgets, you know, like pandemic shows up, city takes money away. How do you track that? You know, those kinds of things. Some wonderful person gives your library a donation for a specific collection. You know, how do you track that and keep realize that that's a donation for that year and you're not going to have that money again the next year. Barbara and I are trying to work through end of year processing, trying to come up with some kind of workflow that will work for end of year processing, because it's always kind of a craziness at that time. So you're welcome to join us. We'd love to have more ideas, and yeah, that's acquisitions.
I'm Barbara Johnson. I'm Technical Services Manager and System Administrator at Bedford Public Library, Texas. I am the SIG leader for the Demonstration Instance Special Interest Group. And that is basically Bywater supplied us with a demo koha instance, and I'm not sure how that came about, but it was there before I got there. And so we populated that koha with patrons and, just everything. We put all kinds of data in it, and we placed holds and set up acquisitions and, catalog things. And so it's got, a small amount of data in it, and we can use that demonstration instance for, in fact, last year at ALA, we had 2 people at our koha-US booth, and they had the demonstration instance up in the booth. And so they could, kind of show off koha. And the group worked really hard to get it ready for last year's koha-US conference in McKinney, Texas, and then also to make sure it was, ready for ALA, which was summertime. We haven't met recently. I believe our meetings are the last Tuesday or 4th Tuesday of the month, probably at 10 o'clock. Anybody can join. And we also use that demonstration instance. koha-US does a lot of videos. And in fact, Christopher and George Williams do their terrific, every other Thursday, terrific videos. And one of the reasons to have the demonstration instance is you want to show off things, but your own koha is going to have your patron data in it, and you really don't want to be exposing that out to everybody. So this is a way that we can, use patrons and show off things, because these patrons, they don't really exist. And it's also a way where you don't have to make a lot of changes to your own live production system and maybe mess something up for your day-to-day operations. So that's how that one all came about.
I'm Lucas. I'm a web developer for Bywater Solutions. And so naturally, along with Jason, I co-host the Web Dev Special Interest Group. We meet the 3rd Thursday of every month and talk about things like CSS and JavaScript, and go over bugs that are web developy type bugs. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm not a SIG leader. I just saw an empty chair and I filled the void because that's what I do. I have been filling in for the sysadmin SIG group. We meet the 2nd Tuesday of every month. And sysadmin is just everything, really. We talk about bugs, we talk about reports, are usually a highlighted topic. And then just like managing a koha system. Most of the people that attend the sysadmin group are sort of not at the back end level, but the front end level of koha administration. So working with system preferences, working with, sometimes we talk about JavaScript and CSS and things overlap between web dev and that sort of thing. But really the group is open to discuss any sort of issue that you might have with koha from sort of the higher level of usage.
And the person that's actually jumping into sysadmin is Andrew Firsty Henry. And so he's taken over that SIG. And so we appreciate that. And we have a gentleman that's not here, and then we'll jump to Heather. But for our circulation SIG is Daniel. Oh, he is. Oh,
Yeah, Daniel
I didn't-
Gagan. I just
Go
saw
ahead.
the link, so I was like, I need to get in here. So yeah, my name is Daniel Gagan, and I'm the head of the circulation SIG. And what we go over in the circulation meetings is basically, you know, any new circulation features you've found, or anything that you've noticed, some great workarounds. We also look at some of the bugs, and if anybody has noticed any, and ask for comments on them. So we meet the first Tuesday of the month. Usually I'm going from Mountain Standard, and that's 11 a.m., but it's 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. So if you're interested in circulation, if you got some great ideas or anything you want to share, we definitely take topics. I usually send them out about a week in advance, although this has been a trying time for me, just technical issues. But we'll be having ours tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard, and hope to see you there. So.
And then Heather.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Heather. I am an actual cataloger. I even have a t-shirt with Mark data on it. And I work at the San Francisco Maritime National Historical Park Research Center, which is a museum special library. And I appreciate the koha-US demo very much, because our catalog is very special and very odd. I chair the cataloging special interest group, and we meet on the first Thursday of the month. And we will pretty much talk about anything, because we're the ones making and changing and updating the bib and item records, even authority records. And oftentimes our group is a great group for people to come to if they're just not sure. It's like, what is this related to? This is the thing I want to do. This is a problem. How do people do it? People sometimes send me questions ahead of time, and we'll open up with those. The meetings are generally a round table. Questions, answers, comments, new features, bugs, and even the standard. I have this weird thing. How should I catalog it so my users can find it? Who are your users? That sort of thing. We'll even talk about Z3950. We've even talked about bib frame. So we'll pretty much talk about anything. And we are meeting tomorrow too. So I hope to see everyone there.
And I just wanted to add, we're open to pretty much anybody that's interested in the in the topics, right? We're not closed off to members or anything. So if anybody has an interest in any of these topics, they're welcome to join in. And our schedules are always listed on the koha-us.org. So you can find the schedules there and the links to the meetings. Barbara, I hope you don't mind, since you had a little bit of extra time in your presentation. We'll cut into our next our general meeting about 10 minutes. Is that all right? Okay. All right. So just had a few questions for the panel to help you understand the group a little bit better and see where they're at. And this can go to anyone in the panel. I'm not going to have you all answer this if you don't want to, but I wanted to find out, what has been your group's biggest hurdle or challenge so far as you've been leading your SIG? Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I have the microphone, so I'll just say something. I think the biggest challenge for SIGs has been participation. We would love to see more people at these things, because the more people, the more ideas we can have, the more things we can get off the ground. So that's my 2 cents.
And this is a koha-US group, but it's not limited to koha-US and it's not limited to the US. Anybody from any country, we just want participation. You know, you can pose questions and we meet, but there are Google groups. So if you're in the group, you can also, you know, send a question out and somebody may jump in. I know that happens a lot with the cataloging group, that they'll have a specific, you know, how do I handle this thing? And somebody else will jump in and say, have you thought about such and such? So that's another way to get involved in that.
Oh, Heather's got something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say, I think the only challenge for our group is sometimes people say, well, I'm not a cataloger. And there are very few people who have that word in their job title. And so I try to put out there that if you have described anything, that's cataloging. Have you, you know, put into a spreadsheet anything, that's cataloging. Have you told your tech services people that you'd like to find something when you're looking for it this way? That's cataloging. And so I would love to encourage people who don't identify as a cataloger or don't think that they do cataloging to come to our SIGs, listen in, or view our recordings to maybe learn more about our little strange world, because we're trying to make everything so that everyone can find it. And if we don't hear how people want to find things, then we won't have ideas about how to make those findable.
All right.
I'd ac-
Anyone else?
I'd
Go
actually
ahead.
piggyback on Heather's. Your topics, they're, you know, you can bring any topic to a meeting, and usually there's something, you know, we can help you with, or we can give you some advice that might aid you in a way that you didn't think about. So if you think something's just like an admin question, you bring it to the CERC meeting, that's not a big deal. We might actually have something that will solve the issue that you're seeing, and you know, you don't actually have to go to the admin meeting. So topics are very fluid in these meetings. That's what I'm trying to actually get at. So
Barbara.
Also, I think, especially for me, when I first started going to these meetings, it felt like, you know, I don't want to ask a question and look stupid. You know, I felt like I needed to know things before I even went to the meeting, but that's not the case. That's the whole purpose, is to come there and say, I don't know how to do this, or I did this and it's now doing something and I want it to stop. That's not what I intended, you know. So really, I mean, it's just an open forum. You don't have to have any skill level. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have your Zoom camera on if you don't want it on. So, you know, any questions are fine, any skill level.
I think too, you know, this has been more of an extension of what started at KohaCon, and we incorporated into our yearly koha-US meetings or conferences, but it's just an extension of that, in that we're just getting together and brainstorming about these things. So yeah, you definitely don't have to be an expert in any one of these categories to listen in at the very least and contribute and talk about something, because maybe they're talking about something that might involve a workflow that you're involved in, and you can contribute some perspective on that they might not have. As we all know, people that develop don't necessarily have a complete grid for how things work in the real world. So having the people that are out in the real world using the product on the end can have a lot to contribute to the discussions and understanding. So we appreciate everybody that gets involved in these groups. Anybody else have anything to share before I move on to the next question? All right, let me ask you this. In the time that you've been in your groups, have any of you had any great takeaways or anything that had a great outcome from discussions?
I think one of the great things about Koha is there's so many unique ways you could do that. And so every time we have a discussion, I learn so much about how different libraries have different needs and there's completely different ways to approach things. And that's always fascinating. And sometimes it's useful to be like, that's an idea we need to incorporate. And a lot of times it's not, and that's okay too. It's something that is just a real interesting idea. Maybe it'll never come up for what my libraries need, but I can't think of anything specific, but I know we talk a lot about like different ways holds work in a consortial environment, and everyone has different setups that have attended the groups and different ways they're trying to approach things, and that has helped me in some cases solve some of my own problems, but also just made me appreciate all the different ways that Koha can be utilized.
I've had a couple of aha moments in the SIGs where specifically I'm thinking about workflow change that came about for purchase suggestion processing that really helped us. We've got a whole bunch, like 8 librarians that do purchase suggestions that handle purchasing for the entire library collection. And I didn't realize that you could make authorized values that, like it says pending and accepted and rejected. You can make other authorized values that I put the collection developers' names in there. So we just have one person that monitors the pending list, and then they will just slot it over to whichever collection developer is the right one. And then you can look, as a collection developer, you go in there, you look at, does my tab even exist? And if so, what do I have under my tab, instead of having to go through that whole pending list every time and looking, because what we did before was put the initials of the person that was supposed to, deal with it, but you'd have to go through that entire pending list looking for your initials. And this has just been amazing workflow saver, and that came out of one of the acquisitions groups. And yeah, just being able to realize that you've got something that you're struggling with, and then you go to this group and you find out, oh, I'm not alone. There's so many, there's other people that are struggling with the same thing. Let's put our heads together and figure out a way to address this. Is there a workaround? Is there something that, maybe somebody's figured out, like this purchase suggestion thing. So it's just a great way to get new ideas and, realize that there's other people struggling with these same things. And if you can, put your heads together, you can come up with some really creative ideas.
I think I'm going to have to steal that idea. That's a very nice one. Anyone else?
I was going to say that the willingness of people to share their ideas, and not only share their ideas, but also share their reports and their workflows and their coding. And it just, everybody's got a little bit, and it might seem insignificant when you mention it in the meeting, but it really helps out when you're like, oh yeah, you get that epiphany moment where it's that person's idea is brilliant and you never really thought about it. And sharing it during those meetings is one of the best feelings and the best reason to come to the Koha SIG meetings. So
I think also sometimes it's not really about new ideas all the time, but maybe you're doing something and you're talking about it, and it's just simply a validation that, oh, I'm doing it correctly. Or I think a lot of us don't get the same, we're not working at the information desk, and we're not working with kids maybe, so we're not getting that patron appreciation. But you go to these different kinds of groups, and the other people that are there understand you, and you sort of get validation and appreciation from that setting.
Anyone else? I just want to add, and I think we'll just close with this. You know, this is a great forum for people getting involved, getting plugged into Koha. We're a fantastic family, a fantastic group, not just with koha-US, but with the whole Koha community. It's been a very non-judgy group. And I'll tell you, my involvement in koha-US has helped me tremendously at work because it's allowed me to branch out and feel more comfortable in my shoes, and I don't feel judged for, you know, just throwing out strange ideas. I've been to some of the koha-US meetings and, you know, shared some things that I'm doing and realized, oh, you know, somebody brought up another way to do something. And it's like, I mean, this just happened a month or two ago. I brought up something I was doing and somebody brought up another idea, and it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. And so I completely revamped what I was doing. So it's a great opportunity to be able to just bounce things off of people. Maybe somebody has a better idea. Maybe somebody wants that idea. So it's a great thing to be involved in. And we are going to be having our SIG meetings during conference on Thursday and Friday. So if you feel inclined to join or sit in or listen or whatever, please join us. And I did say we're non-judgy, but I will say that George judges me a lot. So he's the exception to the group. But anyways, I want to thank our panel for joining us. We are going to wrap up here because we are cutting into our general meeting. So we will start our general meeting for koha-US in just a couple minutes here. We're going to reset a little bit and then we'll get started. So thank you for joining our panel. Thank you very much for joining us.